When deciding on a good and effective warm-up routine, think about the activities your dog is about to do. In agility, we need to primarily warm the dog for sprinting, jumping, and weaving, but we also shouldn't forget about all changes of direction in turns, on jumps, or on lands, accelerations, decelerations, as well as possible negotiating the equipment when things don't go as planned. This is also why just walking the dog prior to agility is simply not enough, because it only warms up the large muscle groups in one plane of motion, forward. But we know dogs will need to twist and turn their bodies as well. The proper warm-up routine can be broken down into 3 parts. 1. Gradual increase in activity with walking and trotting. 2. 3-dimensional progressive warm-up in all planes of motion to target all major joints, toes, wrists, shoulders, hips, and knees, as well as the whole spinal region. And 3. Sport-specific part, mimicking actions our dog is about to do in the event. Again, the warm-up should be active and dynamic, and static stretching exercises are not to be included. Why this is important and what are the differences between dynamic and static stretching was already explained in the introduction video, so let's continue further on. The warm-up will take you approximately 15 to 20 minutes and should be done before each individual run or training session, if there's a larger time gap between them. I will explain more about participating in multiple runs per day or several training sessions in the frequently asked questions video. I recommend you use the same warm-up routine in training and at competitions to get a feeling for exactly how long it takes you to complete it, and therefore never worry again about when to pick up our dog before the start. For me, this usually means I go and take out my dog, approximately 15 to 20 dogs, when they're in front of me at the competition. Keeping the same warm-up routine, which will be specific for agility, will also increase mental preparation of our dog. We will go through the exercises for a complete warm-up for agility purposes to prepare the body both physically and mentally for upcoming performance work. It's also the routine I use when warming up my dogs for agility, both at trials and at training. Always start with walking your dog, because walking is the lowest intensity of motion. Take them out to relieve themselves and stretch their legs. You really don't want to bring the dog out of the car and bam, sprint around or catch a ball. This is really the most important part of warming up the muscles before we do anything else. Proceed to trotting. You need to warm up yourselves as well, so join the dog and jog. You can jog with your dog in a straight line and in circles. This will gradually start to stimulate the cardiovascular and respiratory system, increase the heart rate, and start the large muscle groups pumping. Switching positions, down to stance and stand to down, will engage and move our dog's elbows, shoulders, hips, and knees through a wider range of motion as compared to trotting. The heart rate will also drop a bit, providing the first slight recovery period for your dog within your warm-up. We'll start moving again, this time in the backward direction. Backing up engages your dog's glutes, hamstrings, and shoulders, as well as actively stretches front limb digital flexor tendons. Try to get your dog to walk, not hop backwards. Inviting your dog to stand forward out from a sitting position will improve range of motion in the hind end, engage your dog's thigh musculature and core. Shake hands or the high five exercise will help to warm up your dog's shoulders and provide some active dynamic stretches to the shoulder flexor muscles. You can complete a few lifts of one leg in a row, then repeat with the other, or you can alternate between left and right. Making your dog walk sideways will introduce a new plane of motion for your dog to perform. In agility, dogs use their AB and AD ductors a lot, so there are the muscles responsible for bringing the limb closer to the body or to push the limb out. They're activated whenever dogs have to change direction, as well as in the weave poles. There is no better exercise to warm up these muscles, both in front and hind end, than walking sideways. If your dog doesn't know how to perform it, you can lure him to stand parallel in front of you, then start moving towards your dog. Mark and reward when the dog moves away from you in a sideways motion. Make sure to repeat it in both directions, with dog moving to the left and to the right. Time to release some of the accumulated energy of your dog with a brief game of tug. Not only will it increase motivation, playing and tugging with your dog will also actively stretch shoulders and hamstrings, as well as raise their heart rate again. Make sure you keep the tug toy low to avoid excessive neck extension. For dogs that prefer food, you can implement some food games in here to raise the arousal. Leading your dog in a figure 8 between the legs or in a circling motion will provide the third dimension to warm up our dogs, and it will stretch the whole spinal region, as well as activate the full body work and cardiovascular system. Dynamic stretching exercise for tricep, mid-back and hamstrings. Try to perform the move in a slow but fluent manner, and remember to switch between play bow and stand positions, instead of just holding it. If your dog doesn't know how to do it on cue, you can lure your dog's nose down into the position while helping him to keep the hind end in the air. To dynamically stretch the hip flexors, including the iliopsoas muscle, we will ask our dog to step with front feet on something higher, on a bench or on us, stretching the hind end as well as muscles in the back. Again, you don't want to hold in the position for more than just few seconds. Time to engage the core muscles dogs will need each time they lift themselves to take a jump. Ask for a 3 to 5 brisk nose touches out from a sitting position. You want to get a slight lift of the front end out from the sit. Now, when our dogs are already nicely warmed up in general, it's time to finish the routine with sport-specific actions. We will now work on more explosive actions here, but only in short repetitions, with brief recovery periods in between. Weaving through legs in faster motion will further stretch the spine and neck, as well as engage the whole body, preparing it for fast turns and weaves. Complete a set of a few repetitions. Sprints! Leave your dog in a static position, normally in the same position you leave your dog on the start line. Then encourage him to start sprinting by recalling him to a toy or food. I recommend completing 3 sprints with progressive increases in distance. First, complete just a short distance to work on an explosive start, then move away a bit more for the next try, and finish with a sprint over a greater distance so the dog will at least reach full extension gallop. Sometimes you don't have a space wide enough for this, so you can just repeat the start line stay and release to a toy instead. I recommend taking advantage of the warm-up jumps provided in a training or warm-up area beside the ring. Complete 4 to 5 single jump drills, straight, turns and backside, to engage all muscles and skills required in the upcoming agility run. Make sure you only do a couple of easy jumps, ending on a good note for the best mental preparation before the start. The biggest mistake you can make here is to train a hard sequence you or your dog is not able to complete, and then grumpily proceed on to the start line in a bad mood. Definitely not a winning state of mind, so complete a couple of easy jumps, keeping the motivation and focus high. Last stop before you enter the ring. Since we have just completed a period of high-intensity motions, it's best to spend the last couple of minutes of waiting in line before you start for a short recovery. Rest, but keep moving around in a walk. Repeat some easy body awareness exercises such as sit-to-stands, pole lifts, to keep connection and motivation. Focus. Now you are ready to enter the ring and give your best. Remember, setting up a warm-up routine can be personalized to the exercises you and your dog likes. You can always add in your own exercises or take out something you or your dog don't feel comfortable doing. Just make sure to include all major joints and to perform actions in gradual intensity progression within all planes of motion. The goal is to warm up your dog and get him ready for agility, and it shouldn't fatigue your dog, so keep the repetitions low. I recommend approximately 5 to 10 repetitions for each dynamic warm-up stretch or exercise, or just a couple of repetitions of more active exercises. I recommend you complete the warm-up on a terrain similar to what the dog will run on to allow them to become familiar with the surface and traction. Wishing you good luck!